This is the Sony RVP-6010QM. The RVP stands for Rear Video Projection. It is a rear projection system, quite a departure from my normal direct view CRT reviews. However, it does contain 3 CRTs inside, a red, a green and a blue CRT, 7 inches each in size, to create the image. It's not a consumer domestic level unit. It's a fully professional presentation monitor that you might see at trade shows and things like that. The screen size is 60 inches with an aspect ratio of 4:3. One of the most important features of the monitor is it's claimed to be multi-scan starting at 15 kilohertz. Theoretically, we should be able to use our old 240p consoles, NES and Master System with a light phaser, and I will certainly be testing that to see if it holds true. It's at about a height of 6'5". It's a very big unit, very towering presence, weighing 440 pounds or 200 kilos. The top screen separates off the bottom. There's the carry handles on the side to take the top part off. And there are carry handles on the bottom too, in case you want to shift that around as well. Here's an example of it inside a flight case, separated and put into 2 different flight cases for transport. Massive Sony badge. Very big badge. Inside we have the control panel, the remote, as it's called, remote commander. It's got a lot of picture adjustment settings that can be dealt with here. A lot of service mode type stuff that you get immediate access to with things like linearity, skew, bow, pin, zone. There's the ability to shift the picture. It's not removable, at least not immediately removable, although it can unscrew at the front here. There are a number of remotes that slightly differ between each other that are compatible with the projector. I dare say you could use it remotely or wirelessly. There is a headphone style jack there for connecting to it wired, with a wide means of transmission, and there's also what appears to be that black panel that's an infrared port to control remotely, and it would be best to use from a distance, standing right in front of the projector to get the best image to make the adjustments. There are most likely a speaker on each side there, 10-watt speakers. The power consumption on this thing's 460 watts, but in RGB mode it's 510 watts. Another peculiar feature is that the inputs are actually on the front down here below. It's quite hard to get to see to. There's our sound out. And if I can try to get this, we have that big round DIN style connector. That's to hook up multiple projectors, hook up Sony's video switcher unit like matrix system. This is, for example, the cable you would use to connect into that connector on the projector, the CCQ2BRS, the Sony camera cable. It's 2 meters long, hence the 2. You would then plug the cable into the back of this unit, the Sony signal interface switcher, PC-1271. This can accommodate up to 8 different inputs. This unit here is not fully decked out. There are a few vacant spots, a variety of input types. There's the big DIN connectors. You can actually hook up more of these units and have even more inputs and outputs. What I mean by that is that the cable we have now goes into the out of this switcher and into the projector. Then we have another 1271 unit with another cable connected from it that goes to the input of this switcher. So we would have 2 switches joined together for a total of 16 inputs, then connected into the projector. Another remote option. Even another remote option with those headphone jacks. There's an S-video input and a composite input via B&C, and it looks like sound in and out. There are, which very importantly, the monitor includes 2 of these slots here, Sony's IBF or IFB. I get it mixed up all the time, but they're removable cards. And there's quite a lot of cards available in this system. The default card, I think on this, is the RGB card, which we can see here. And then there's the other one which has got composite video and S video. So there's two slots, and those cards both can come out
and be replaced with different cards for different signals, and the range is quite big. And that's one of the things I really like about the monitor. It's very, very expandable. This is one of the cards that was in the monitor that I showed before, but not close up like this. IFB interface board. You can see there's a bad cap there, rusted out. That's about the size of the cards, typically, with that pin connector system there.
Here's a snippet out of a catalogue from Sony showing some of the cards. There are quite a few more than this. There were further improvements on the existing cards with higher bandwidths.
Go around the back. Oh, push that out. For some strange reason, there are 3 different model badges on the unit. The front is the RVP-6010QM. On this particular label, it's RVP-6010T, made in Japan, multi-scan rear projector. Then there's another badge down here, RVP-6010QMB.
The penny has just dropped for me. I think these designations mean that the T is for the top half of the unit and the B is for the bottom half of the unit. That makes sense.
There's 3 CRT somewhere beneath those lenses, one for red, one for green and one for blue. And the caps are on. And there you can see it with the cap off. Just keep them protected like that. Here's another one.
As mentioned earlier, the monitor is in somewhat of a transport mode. This back panel here, this metal panel that I'm grabbing onto now, pulls out to adjust the mirror on the inside into the correct position. So this makes the depth of the monitor somewhat bigger now, given it's in a full usage mode. There are 2 wing nuts used to screw this panel in place. There was one floating around inside the cabinet, and what I'll do now is I'll use this wing nut to screw it in so we can actually use the monitor shortly.
Grill, air vent grill. There's a compartment down here. I don't know what that's for. I don't know what normally lives inside there. We have another badge. That's from the previous owner. Where'd that come from? Sydney. Presentation services worldwide. You can see the wheels, at least those 2 wheels. There's a couple on the back, totaling 4 wheels, Castor wheels. I think they've got brakes on some of them. Gives you the ability to push it around here out in the concrete surface, which is nice. You wouldn't be doing it otherwise too easily. I've got it to a stage now where it's partially disassembled. Rear projections aren't my wheelhouse, so I'm not fully sure what's going on, but I've got the bezel off, then I've got the Fresnel off, which is where the image ends up being projected into. It's like sort of a plastic magnifying glass type looking substance. Then inside the machine, there's a big mirror in front of us here that bounces the image from the CRTs and lenses, which are actually down here. Some of the PCBs, there's a lot more to this thing deeper down inside if I can get into it. There's 2 flybacks over there. I imagine there's a 3rd one to drive the 3rd CRT. Although maybe there's only 2, but I guess there's 3. If I can get in deeper, it'll be good, but I can't find a way to easily access further down inside.
I've been trying to work out what date this projector is. The one on screen now is the predecessor, the 6000Q. It's very, very similar. It has lower bandwidth, that is, it doesn't support quite as high resolution. All importantly, it does go down to 15K, but this comes out of the Sony catalogue of 1993. Therefore, we know the monitor I'm reviewing is at least no older than 1993. Conversely, the last finding I can find of this monitor in Sony literature is in the 1999 catalogue. Thereafter, it doesn't appear in the 2000 catalogue. So we can say the monitor here now is mid to late 1990s at my best estimation. Let's now turn the monitor finally on.
The monitor is now turned on. I can hear the fans whirling inside. I've got a message on the screen saying for optimum performance, white screen will remain for 17 minutes. It started at 20 after turning it on initially. It can be skipped. Obviously we want the best image to look at, so I'll leave it go for 20 minutes. I've got a Master System 2 plugged in. It's in RGB, it's in 60 Hertz. I've got a gun game to test the gun. I've shifted the monitor into the shed here because the ambient light outside is just too much. Monitor's not strong enough to compete with that, and even in here it's still a little dull, but it's rear projection. What else do you expect? One of the problems I've noticed is when you go down to the control panel at the front, you bend down, you start making adjustments, your view of the screen goes off center, and the projector doesn't particularly create an image that's easy to see from all angles. So it makes it quite hard to adjust sitting down where you need to be to access the control panel, but yet you cannot see it from center and see all the corners properly to make those adjustments. I've stretched out the RGB. The scan lines are quite visible. Make sure I've got a bit of volume. I've been playing around with this gun game. This is the official Master System gun. It's a bit off center. I've got to shoot to the right of where I feel I should have to. It does appear to work, however the targets on the bottom of the screen are quite difficult to hit. See, this one down the bottom here, I cannot get it. So I'm not really 100% going to say that this monitor is light gun fully compatible. It might be. It just might be that the screen's too big. I don't know what it might be. Whether the gun can't quite pick up the rear projections pattern of lights down the bottom, I don't know. This time around, Japanese Saturn, House of the Dead, gun again. Let's see how we go on this. I haven't calibrated the gun. I should have done that first. There's got to be a way to save the settings on this thing too, because every time I turn off a console and turn it back on, the image is completely uncentered. That's quite annoying.
Oh no!
Oh no! Let's see how we go, even without calibration. Yeah, see, it's a bit off to the left again.
Others are still inside. Save them.
Yeah, I'll try, mate.
Help! Thank you.
Still on the Saturn, different game, World League Soccer 98, a game that's completely in high resolution, 480i, and I see no problems with the monitor displaying that. Actually, it looks good. This game pushes the Saturn a bit. The frame rate's a bit choppy, but it is completely in high resolution, which is impressive.
Good afternoon. This should be a fabulous exhibition match. Arsenal have won the toss and they will kick off. And now it's over to our match commentator, Peter Brackley.
Thanks, Ray. There's a cracking atmosphere building and we're almost underway. The first half is underway.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good.
Not much room for him here.
No problems here.
It's come back off the post.
Next console is the Dreamcast, not in RGB but in VGA with the official Sega VGA box. We're in VGA, playing House of the Dead 2 with the proper Sega Dreamcast gun.
The House of the Dead. The
best to do the calibration. The gun is calibrated.
They're meeting G over there.
Come on, mate. Yeah.
Please be safe, G.
Oh. So the gun works well, and I really like the look of the image. I feel very much like I am in the arcade now, playing on a rear projection system.
G. James,
Come on.
try. Don't.
Oh, you can skip it. Very good.
Harry and Amy are coming to back us up. Hurry.
This time around we have a laptop, Windows-based PC running VGA, currently in 640 by 480. I'm using Quick Res 2 to change through resolutions, and we'll gradually build up and see how far the projector can go to. The Miss Convergence certainly stands out on the text. I've had a little go at adjusting the convergence, but I can't get it converged in all parts. Not unusual for rear projections. Currently 640 by 480, we'll go to 800 by 600. Yeah. It needs to be centered, well, it needs to be shrunk a little to... It's almost as if it needs to be converged on each resolution that it takes in, because it's gone... Oh, it's probably because it's not in the memory. I need to manually adjust it each time. But anyway, I'm baffling on. That's, what was that, 1200 or so? Gosh, I can't even see my icons anymore. They're too far down the screen. I'll go by the laptop. Let's go 1280 by 720. Oh, that's what we're on. Next stop, 1366 by 768. That's a widescreen one. Well, it still tries, it still puts something on the screen. Let's try 1600 by 1200. Yeah, it'll give it a go. It'll give it a crack. Centered it in. Well, that's as high as I can set this laptop, so it's able to resolve all these resolutions and display them. Not bad. This is the domain of the projector, the PC. It's probably what it's most intended to be used with.
The next item on the agenda is this card, the Sony IFB-FULLHD. To be very clear, this card is not made by Sony. It is an aftermarket card that is still available today to buy. It is widely used by CRT enthusiasts for watching movies and playing games on their projectors. Perhaps not so much the rear projection unit that I'm showing, but it is compatible with any of the Sony projectors that use the IFB slot, which there are many. I have a PS3 here now to play around with, and we'll see what this card can do on this projector.
Finally, the PlayStation 3 is connected via HDMI into the HDMI card. The console's running at 720p. I've had it at 1080p. However, the convergence goes out on the outer edges quite a bit, and it seems to be better. It's like it is definitely better at 720p. Convergence is just automatically better at 720p, whereas 1080p requires more adjustment, but I still can't get it converged as well as it looks now in 720p. This is one of the Zen pinball games, Star Wars table, and it doesn't look too bad at all. And I've barely really tuned the monitor in or the HDMI card because it's got quite a few adjustments that can be done on the card itself. However, it is quite respectable. Now it's fully nighttime that I'm filming this. There's no sunlight at all. It's not competing against the sun. Oh, look, I don't even have the full version of this lousy thing. I can say it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. With optimization, it'd look even better. It's a fairly remarkable display with what it can display. I'll go back out. Video output settings, HDMI. I'll go for custom. Take off the lower resolutions. Can't change that. I'll just go for 1080p. Switching into it. Yes, now it gets very misconverged when it's at 1080p. I can generate a crosshatch like that.
I should add that this pattern is generated by the monitor itself. It's built in.
For red adjustment and either green or blue, you can adjust two of them. See that? You can draw that red out. And same for the horizontal red. We'll do it extreme so you can really see it and notice it on the camera. And then there's our blue. Drag it right out, put it back in. Vertical, same with the vertical. I'm going to go back to red and just try to get that center at least reasonably well converged. But you can see at the bottom it's terrible here on 1080p, and that's affecting everywhere around the edges. The page button brings up the status of the monitor. The next page, and the next page, clamping options, color temperature, and the next page as well. Gee, it's good, isn't it? Tells you your frequencies. Very good. I'm glad to have had the time to test out this rear projection monitor. I was on a limited time frame. Got to test it reasonably well, but not to the full extent. Didn't get the remote set up properly. Certainly didn't get it calibrated. Didn't fiddle with the geometry settings. Didn't find out whether it had a service menu, so on and so on. The point is, I'm not really showing it at its full capability, so I have to be sparing on it somewhat. In regards to Sony's IFB boards, I'm surprised that Sony never made a SCART board to be plugged in. There's at least a dozen different cards made by Sony. There are also other aftermarket cards, including this one here that has both component in the RCA form and a HDMI port as well. There are those people in the CRT community doing great work creating replacement cards for various monitors, and it wouldn't be too hard to imagine that a SCART card could be done. However, the demand for IFB cards may not be that great. Which brings me to alternatives to this monitor. There is a younger baby brother. This one's the RVP-4010QM, a 40-inch version of the bigger 60. The main difference is that it does not have a stand. You need to put it on top of a bench or whatever you want to put it on. Interestingly, looking at the back, we can see 4 expansion slots, which makes it superior to its bigger brother, which only has 2 in that regard. This one's probably even rarer than the bigger one. Not that that's saying much because they're both very rare. Another alternative are Sony's own CRT projectors. Sony has a range of CRT projectors which share very, very similar DNA to the rear projection monitors, using IFB slots for expansion so that the HDMI card can be inserted.
The model on screen now is Sony's top-of-the-line CRT projector. It is very popular amongst home theatre enthusiasts and was the main reason that the HDMI card was made for, amongst other models also. This model is superior in that it has 9-inch CRTs rather than the 7 in what I'm reviewing now. The general rule of thumb is the bigger the CRTs in the projector, the better it can accommodate higher resolutions. Getting back on track to the review here now of the 6010QM. As for its disadvantages, massive footprint. This thing would look ridiculous in a bedroom. You'd need to put it in a lounge. It'd be cool in a bedroom, but it needs a big room really. It generates a lot of heat. Again, in a small room, it would warm the room up. I went around to the back of the projector in a cold shed in the middle of winter and I could feel the heat coming off it. For best performance, the projector needs to be in a dark room. Therefore, it doesn't compete well with other light sources, fluorescent light, sunlight. In that situation, it would become a disadvantage to be in a light room. Burn-in could be more of a problem on a projection system than a direct view CRT, so you would be wise not to leave any HUDs or static images on the screen for a long time. This picture of Final Fight on some other sort of rear projection monitor or television doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit bright in centre and misconverged in the bottom and left right corners. However, another disadvantage is that the image quality from a rear projection TV or monitor is usually inferior to that of a direct view CRT television or monitor. In my experience from all the arcade machines I've seen, all of the televisions using rear projection technology, none of them match the quality of a direct view CRT. You can see in the picture above that light uniformity is not good. That blue sky should be the same blue all over, not being brighter in the center and darker at the top. As for front throw projectors, a similar situation exists, although some cinema enthusiasts would debate that a properly set up, properly calibrated front throw projector would match a CRT or give it a good run for its money. I'm not in a position to argue the merits of that, but you would have to have it under optimum calibration to do so. This example on screen now looks quite nice, but again, you're going to have it set up really well to show it off to maximum capability. On to the positives, the advantages of this projection system. Its expandability is terrific. By default, it can accept composite and S-video, accommodating both PAL and NTSC. The IFB-11 card that comes by default accepts RGB and VGA, all on that one card. So you've got a terrific range of signals that can already be sent into the monitor. You can add more cards. You can add aftermarket HDMI, for example, as we used with the PlayStation 3. Have you ever seen a display that can display 15 kHz 240p with light gun compatibility and also accept HDMI signals? You could run a PS5 in this thing as well as a master system. Incredible. Perhaps one of the best displays ever created that can accept a wide range of signals. As for lag, I haven't done any tests, but my gut instinct tells me that this is an old school CRT, somewhat analog display that will not cause any lag. It'd be interesting to test the HDMI function for lag. As it is, I would say though, minimal for lag, non-existent most likely. The monitor also has light gun compatibility. However, there is a caveat. With the master system, I couldn't calibrate the gun. It was shooting off to the left by a few inches, which it did also with the Saturn. Fortunately for the Saturn, most games can be calibrated. You almost have to consider that the monitor is not fully compatible with 8-bit consoles, or at least with any gun game that cannot be calibrated. When properly calibrated, the image on screen will be good. Not as good as CRT, but quite respectable. I was very pleased to play House of the Dead 2 on Dreamcast, and it gave me an immediate feeling of being at the arcade. It was a good experience, a good replication of that. Overall, the 6010QM is a very exotic creature, shall we say. There wouldn't be too many game rooms that could easily accommodate such a thing, and there are not too many of these monitors out in the wild. Certainly niche, exotic, and unusual, but perhaps it's something that you would like to take advantage of. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.